It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. A woman found out that her boyfriend was a fan of Andrew Tate and broke up with him. I feel like that opening sentence kind of describes it. I know nothing about what the line was actually supposed to mean, but it's like she's having the best time of her life dating a guy who she thought was so sweet and so funny. It was oh so good and felt so great. She had a crush on him for a long time, but then she found out secretly he was listening to Andrew Tate. And that means that all the good things that were happening were the worst things ever. And he was lying to her the whole time. And secretly, he was a homophobic, transphobic, racist, misogynist. I love it. This idea that like these people are, you know, this guy's like, I better lie to this woman so she keeps dating me. No, I think the reality is this lady's in a cult. And her boyfriend probably was a normal dude. Probably heard some things from Andrew Tate, and that was about it. It was like, I don't know, I listened to some of his stuff. And then she went, oh my God, and freaked out because this is what cults do. Dude, when I talk to people and they're like, hey, I'm a big fan of your show, I'm like, oh, it's cool. And they'll be like, yeah, I listen to Young Turks and stuff too. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh no, oh, heavens help me. The people who listen to me listen to other people. You know, if I found out that a family member or a friend was a fan of the Young Turks or Hassan, I'd be like, yeah, you know, whatever. What am I going to do? I don't care. Like, dude, pass the pepperoni pizza, I guess. It has no impact on me. You want to debate this stuff? We will. You know, have a conversation about it. Let me read for you this Reddit post. I originally saw this posted by Ian Miles Chong, shout out. And it's on the 2X chromosomes Reddit. I just found out my boyfriend is an Andrew Tate fan. Oh no. I'm beyond crushed. We've only been dating for 6 months. But we've been friends for 4 years and I've always had a crush on him. I love that. A crush on him. How old are you? Are you 12? I mean, honestly, maybe. So I was very emotionally attached to him. And this revelation was so heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. I never thought he was like that. Like what? Like what? You didn't learn anything about him. You're like, he listens to a guy. Uh-oh, he's like that. What does that mean? I realize now I probably had an idealized version of him in my mind. But I can't think of any red flags that I missed. This is why, my friends, I say that women will start to become more conservative because women don't care as much about these things. They're like men are object oriented, women are subject oriented. That means there are external social pressures that result in this girl breaking up with her boyfriend over being an Andrew Tate fan. But in the long run, women, in my view, are more likely to adopt the social views of their partner than the other way around. Why? Men are obstinate. Women tend to be more agreeable. That's the only thing. We'll read on. She says, I realize now I probably had an idealized version of him in my mind, but I can't think of any red flags. He never initiated conversations about politics, but he always seemed to agree whenever I said something feminist, pro-LGBTQ, etc. I had no idea he was pretending. Here's a good breakdown of what likely happened. Dude's probably sitting there and they're like having dinner. And then she's like, well, I think the government should stay out of abortion. And he was like, yeah, I think so. She's like, yeah, cool. Then later, she finds out he's a fan of Andrew Tate. And she goes, if he likes Andrew Tate, that must mean he wants to take away women's rights and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, this guy's probably got a variety of political views. And she's assuming that because he listens to Andrew Tate, all of a sudden, all of his views are the most extreme versions of whatever they may be. That's the logical explanation. He was pretending. Oh, shut up. No, he wasn't. It's ridiculous. He never said anything sexist or problematic in front of me. He wasn't a vocal feminist, but I've always thought he had feminist opinions, more than most men I've ever known. In reality, he did not say anything in front of her. He wasn't a vocal feminist. She made a bunch of assumptions about his opinions. Long story short, I found out he's been a fan of Andrew Tate for a while now, and apparently when I'm not around, he shares conservative, sexist, and homophobic views that I would never guess he had. I learned this from a male cousin that sometimes hangs out with him, my favorite. I never heard him say anything. Ever. And then someone came and said, oh, you know, he once said this thing, break up with him. Yo, lady, you're in a cult, okay? You need to go and ask your boyfriend, be like, hey, were you saying these things? And then he'd probably be like, no, I didn't say that. Or he'd be like, oh, that's an exaggeration of what I said. I bet he said something like, yeah, you know, I've listened to Andrew Tate a little bit. It's interesting. He's got some interesting opinions on all the stuff pertaining to like feminism and, you know, like gay rights and whatever. He made an argument about X that I thought was interesting. And then what happens is cousin goes, he was saying that he liked Andrew Tate and agreed with him. I don't believe this lady because she never actually talked to him, I guess. Of course, I broke up with him, but I'm still so sad, confused, and angry. I feel like all these years have been a lie. It sucks when you find out someone isn't who you thought he was. I don't really need advice, I guess. I just really wanted to share this with someone who might have experienced something similar, and I don't know where else to post it. Such a womanly thing to post. Men are object-oriented, women are subject-oriented, as I often say. It's not my personal opinion. That's like the science. That's why when women take pictures of objects, it's them with the object, and men take pictures of the object, because the women care about the idea of them doing a thing, and men care about the thing. And it's funny because feminists get really offended at the idea when I say this, but they get offended at everything. I'm like, dude, women being subject oriented is actually the right way to be. The idea that you care more about the person than the object, whereas dudes just care about objects. You see the point? Don't get me wrong. Women care about objects too. I'm just saying there's a tendency here. Women will, there's this old story that I talk about that was on Reddit where there's like some grandkids, their adult grandkids talking with their grandma. And she was showing them a picture of the Grand Canyon, something like this. And she was like, they were like, oh, she said, this is when I went to the Grand Canyon with your dad and your uncle. And then she paused and she's like, why did I take a picture of the Grand Canyon? I don't care about the Grand Canyon. I care about your dad and your uncle. And then they were like, wow. And the dude said from that point on, whenever he goes somewhere, he takes a picture of him and his friends and not the place. And I'm like, that is typically a more female perspective than a male one. The male would just be like, look at this and take a picture of the view. The women are more likely to take pictures of themselves, which in the end matters so much more because our lives and everything we do is solely based on the human experience. Jeremy Boring made a really great point on the show a while ago. And he said he doesn't care. I'll paraphrase, but he was like, the rights of animals and all that, it doesn't mean that much because we live for the human experience. He's completely correct. If all humans were wiped off the face of the earth, human thought, minds, goals, ambition are meaningless. Humans exist for other humans. So my point is, women get offended when they say stuff like this. I love it. Like when I talked about how conservatives tend to be more attractive than liberals, that's a scientific fact. There's like 5 different studies backing this all up in the past decade or so. And the liberals get so offended by it, but it's their idea. It's called attraction privilege, or it's called privilege. If you grow up attractive, people are nice to you, they give you things, opportunity comes easier for you. If you're a dude and you're tall with a deep voice, it's going to be easier for you than if you're short. If you are attractive in any way. But there's different ways of being attractive. But if you're an attractive guy or attractive woman, life is easier. Thus, you tend to say, hey, if I did it, you can do it. And there is a pressure on you to view it as an individual accomplishment. Whereas if you are less attractive, you tend to be more collectivist, working together with other people to succeed because you've had it harder in life. This is privilege. But the liberals get so offended because they don't want to be considered ugly. It's like, dude, you made the idea up. Okay. And then they did this thing like the Young Turks. They were like, look how ugly Tim Pool is. I'm like, dude, I never said I was attractive. I don't go on YouTube like, look how charming and attractive I am. I didn't do any of that. Here's what I see with a story like this. The comments are all really hilarious. Here you go. A helpful tip for discussing politics with people. I use it a lot. Pay attention to whether they're just agreeing with you or actively engaging in conversation. It's a common trick with people to just agree with whatever you say to get them on your good side. Gives the illusion they're the same. 1,000 times this. Even when people agree with you, there's always 1 or 2 issues that you have different views on. No one agrees on everything. If someone is agreeing all the time without explaining why or having different views on certain different subjects, they're just agreeing to avoid arguments or getting on your good side. I got to give a shout out to my Andrew Tate friend over here. You dodged a bullet, dude. And I'm willing to bet this guy's laughing. They were only dating for 6 months. And he's probably just like, yo, she's crazy. He's probably going to his buddies. It's funny because these people really don't get it. In one of the comments, they're like, I bet he's on 4chan right now saying he's being persecuted, blah, blah, blah. No way, dude. If he's an Andrew Tate fan, he's going to his buddies and going like, yo, dude, she was nuts. They're like, dude, did you break up with Becca? Yeah, dude, she's crazy. Bro, we were only dating for like 6 months. And then she comes at me like, I heard you listen to Andrew Tate. And I was like, yes, sometimes I guess. And she went, I can't be with you. And I'm like, okay, lady, you lost it. I'm willing to bet dude's laughing about it with his buddies. I doubt he's broken up that much about it. She's the one going online posting like, oh, heavens me. He listened to a podcast guy. Okay, Andrew Tate's a lot more than that for sure. And there's a lot of bad things said about Andrew Tate. Don't know enough about him. I can tell you this. I don't believe any of it. Why? Certainly, some of the videos I've seen are bad. Yeah. So it's like, well, Andrew Tate's Andrew Tate. Okay, here's what it is. Throw out the bad stuff, okay? If he did anything bad in his life, hold him accountable. He's not been charged with any crimes. This stuff they're throwing him out right now seems to be bunk. And he's even had women coming out defending him, so I don't believe any of that stuff. But come on. They're accusing Russell Brand. They accuse Andrew Tate. They accuse Donald Trump. And they destroy all their credibility. So I just really don't care. All I can say is this. If someone has a good idea and it's a good idea, it's a good idea. And I'll say it. If someone is a bad person, they have a good idea, the idea is still good, but they're a bad person. If Andrew Tate has done bad things, fine, whatever. But the things he said about masculinity, working hard and fighting for what you believe in, standing up for yourself and not being lazy, those are important messages. One of the best things he said, I saw a video, he said, rocket ship to the moon, doesn't stop halfway, take a break. No, it keeps going. And I thought it was funny. I'm like, he's right. Bro, if you're on a mission, you don't stop halfway. You run until you can't run. You don't stop. No breaks. Breaks only when you need to, right? We take breaks because we want to recharge and be sharp. We don't stop and go on sabbatical. Some people do. That's a detriment. Anyway, congratulations, lady. You got what you wanted. Now you have no boyfriend. Well, I'm sure no boyfriend is better than a boyfriend that listens to Andrew Tate. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.